Hey guys, so YouTube channel update. In a few weeks I'm going to post a book review. First one, I'm not going to reveal which title it is, but it's a pretty good one. I think it'll appeal to most people. So on to the last of my tennis high school recordings. Okay, here we go. After my greatest, most loose tennis match win ever against Plant City on their home turf, brushing aside their alternate, who I assume was an alternate, but he was playing number 5, 6-1, 6-1, in which I had quite a few forehand, jumping overhead, and aggressive one-handed backhand winners. I was winning so badly that it almost felt weird to be playing so on fire, since I was much more accustomed to receiving the beatdowns. But the fact he earned a couple games that day against me proved he was capable. And then going on to lose doubles alongside our number 1 Greg proved even at my and ours, since Greg was better than me, best, I'm far from invincible. Even on my very best day, it was that day, and everything was clicking. I lost in doubles because those guys were tough. But still, I felt on top of the world and ready to momentarily enjoy the fruits of my labor, producing the best tennis to date consistently. And before that, I dismantled Gaither's number 5 8 games to 1, who was insistent from the get-go on breaking down my slice backhand, but I was pretty much in wall mode there. I just kept getting everything back, and then when the openings came, just opened up the forehand, put it away, came to net some. Anyways, after Plant City, it was a Friday, and finally get to relax some, be at Cosmic Bowling, which was my first time ever. It was awesome since I had no idea midnight bowling was a thing. But ironically or not, my greatest bowling day to date came a year or two later after that. But the fact Greg and I remained pumped and took 2 games off their top studs in an 8-game pro set may have counted as a victory in its own right, though far from earning the actual win. But I was happy with the result regardless. And with Cosmic Bowling, any well-deserved night away from my AP homework was a victory in its own right. And at Cosmic Bowling, I mainly remember, just relaxing, having a good time. Also hearing Selena Gomez's "I Love You Like a Love Song, Baby," which was everywhere at that time. It had just come out, along with Rebecca Black's masterpiece, "Friday." Don't get me started about that song. Couldn't kill my youthful vibes back then in 2011. But don't get me wrong, being in my absolute tennis prime was a romanticizing, fun, fulfilling, and exciting time. But even at the time, it felt futile and fleeting. Sure, I could outlast and outhit some decent to good hitters. So what? I had reached this personal mountain of mine and felt I was even getting better approaching districts, but I felt I didn't need college tennis to maintain my ego and personal strength, which had arguably been near E at the beginning of the season, and especially right before. I felt I deserved the number 4 single spot at least, feeling I could beat Austin and definitely Surya, who wasn't as nimble on his feet, but I liked my chances at number 5, feeling for sure I could win it for Strawberry Crest. I recall one day at practice, same old day in, day out. Coach eased off of being harsh. One of the things that really helped me stay light on my feet, a few days he had us keep moving, no standing around, and even if it was just running in place, and that really set off the light in the muscle memory or something, really got me going. But I guess people were complaining, and he went a little bit easier, but by then I was in my prime, and I'd reached that point where I didn't need to be working my ass off all the time. But still, same old drills, smacking fuzzy balls, running, school, etc. It's like just day in, day out hitting tennis balls. Like, you need to mix it up, have some fun. So we to emulate Nadal, women's grunting, attempting to play lefty, etc. As sometimes it felt overall pointless. I still enjoyed playing, feeling and moving around phenomenally on the court, not letting anything off the court faze me, but I just felt and knew there had to be more than life than relying on this. Also not video games, lousy girls, etc. Just one thing in life. At least for me, more than one focus, most of the time. But everyone at SCHS was playing pretty solid, even the girls at that point. I felt my whipping topspin forehand should have just knocked more of them out of the court, but they just kept hitting it back. Morgan and Shivani went on to win District's number 2 against Steinbrenner, earning their spot to regionals. But I remember for sure playing against Kim, I expected my topspin to just be too much, like it was for the Plant City guy, but he just kept blocking them back. You know, conditioning every day, that's what it does. That's how they were able to get that district's win and move on to regionals. Okay. But I felt ready as ever and sky high coming into districts, playing my conclusive high school tennis matches at 100 Green with clay courts. A nice place I'd played doubles matches before. I had this one chance to further cement both SCHS's and my own tennis legacy. As long as the other teams weren't stacking, playing their best quality players in lower positions, or having enough high quality players in lower seeds, which isn't cheating but happen frequently with the best teams. I felt great and confident playing on my favorite surface, clay. I definitely hadn't forgot how well it suited my spin and slice oriented game in districts the year prior. In the first round, I'm drawn against Middleton's number 5. Great, less energy wasted here, so I can bring the heat against my opponent in round 2, who usually has a bye, meaning their higher rank guaranteed their spot in the second round without playing an opening round match. I asked my first opponent if he's a senior. Indeed he is, but it makes no difference. I'm on a mission, the mission to win it all. I win without much opposition at all, many straightforward winners, but my concentration wasn't there 100%, and at least a couple of games were extended deuces. I'm not sure how I lost a game, but no matter, I breezed by with a score of 6-1, 6-0. Still fresh as can be, I grab a snack or two and eagerly await my next match. Jesuits number 5 and I are sent on an outlying court right near the clubhouse, far away from many of the other matches, if not most, going on with all the team supporters. Also on this court, the clay is thin and dusty, not thick enough to support my game very well, but still making running around the court harder than on just a regular hard tennis surface. This isn't how a proper clay court is supposed to be, is what I think. But now was not a time for excuses, just for putting it all on the line and see if my true best efforts can pull through. No surrender. You've proven yourself, so just go out there and give it your all. This Jesuit number 5 guy is good, as we're just playing practice hitting right before the match. Maybe even scary good, hitting near effortless power and a solid backhand. Okay, stay in the moment, you've got this. You can run down these balls, outlast him, play a solid all-court game. Into the match, my typical high-spinning topspin strokes are right in his strike zone, and teeing away with them at ease. He's far from the biggest and best tennis player I've ever played, but he just consistently hit with power and precise placement. Damn it, it's not supposed to be like this. Perhaps I'm a bit stubborn, continuing with the same momentum, doing what worked wonders against 95% of number 5 high school tennis players, and would have worked on the few teams who wouldn't or couldn't face us that year. Or maybe he was just too good. Granted, my slicing, hitting drop shots, hitting volleys at net, or etc. strategy wouldn't have worked against him alone, or else I would have done it. You know, even against Plant City, I came to net sometimes. You know, you just gotta mix it up. You know, if you just stay back, you're missing out opportunities, and if you always go to net, then you're bound to be passed or lobbed, even if you're playing your best tennis, as long as you're playing somebody decent. Okay, back to the match. Maybe I was still warming up, as I get bageled in that first set, losing 0-6. As the second set progresses, giving it my all, I begin to accept this match would most likely be my last official tennis match, but still want to go out having fun, and make him absolutely earn this victory, not just accepting the L. What's the fun in that? Not only for me, but for him, you know. I like my opponents to have to earn it. I relentlessly hit deep and grind, taking this tough striker to deuce several times. Because if you're hitting deep, you're playing like a Mats Wilander kind of game with Thomas Muster, you know, with topspin, looping. If you hit it to the service line, that's about half court. You know, that gives them much more time to judge the ball and just tee off on it. But if you hit deeper in the court, not only do you have less time to set their stroke up, you also have less time to judge where it's going to land. So, you know, they're kind of caught off guard and you have more opportunity. And they're more likely to mess up. so that's what I did. I was just hitting deeper. In one game, serving, I retained the hunger, attacking his backhand in openings, making him run. Although for the most part, we're just slugging out the rallies. On the ad court, I unleash a clean ace up the tee. Come on! I'm pumped. I've never been double bageled in a districts match before, and I sure as hell ain't ready to begin today. I outlast him in a rally to win a precious game at long last. At least I earned my place on the scoreboard. This guy had most likely begun playing tennis at a young age, or at least picked it up much more naturally than me, so that game was a sweet thing to win in this dire pickle of a match. He's from Jesuit after all, an all-boys school. Maybe it's no wonder, having all that pent-up testosterone. My senior year. No regrets, but I didn't hit on girls all that much, at least compared to 2010, my junior year. That's no secret. I focused on tennis and homework, and I had way more than enough on my plate. Do I regret not going to prom? No, because it was overpriced, and I heard it was at Mosey, and the lights were super bright, and just, it was a disaster. Didn't allow much dancing. Okay. I keep the thoughts at bay of the inevitability of the result to remain in this match. On one point, I came within inches, if not centimeters, of hitting my greatest shot in my tennis career, had this guy not been at the perfect place at the perfect time, which had to have occurred pretty quickly, but it felt as if it happened in slow motion. We get into a good rally, cat and mouse style, as he approaches the net, or right about to, and hits a beautiful drop shot into my deuce court. I was ready as ever, sprinting at absolute full speed over to it. I predicted and lined it up perfectly, whipping it down the line, and as soon as I see it miraculously go over the high part of the net, right down the line, and start to dip down, I exclaim, "Ooh!" Regardless of my fitness, I'm amazed I even got my racket on it, let alone hit this grand shot. But somehow, someway, milliseconds away from the ball dipping down to the point of no return, being so low and coming in at such speed, it would have been near impossible to hit back over, right to his feet. He made contact with a backhand volley, pushing it into my wide open ad court. I stand speechless. I can't believe it. Both of these shots were something out of this world, but somehow he won it. I felt I had an about 85% chance of winning that point when striking that ball, but my efforts somehow fell short. I recuperate and move on to the next point, but I can hardly help that spectacular point remains fresh in my mind. It wasn't even funny. Down 0-6-1-4 or 1-3, I smell defeat more fully, but still enjoy it for every moment while it continues to last, and still giving it my all. Wanting support from a teammate, I find Sam, and he soon watches as I play in BFE. His presence helps me stay relaxed yet pumped. My best efforts still aren't enough, playing at least a few errors, far from my worst performance, but he's still mostly just out hitting me. I've never been too great hitting against power hitters, unless they pretty much hit it in predictable spots, and I can kind of slice it and come to net, but otherwise it's tough, you know. Maybe I hit a few winners here or there. I don't remember hitting many winners except for that ace and what should have been the winner. Man, this is 7 years ago. In a way it feels like that long ago, in a way it doesn't. Anyway, eventually, down match point, I think, make him earn it. Don't hit into the net. Don't hit into the net. Thinking it would haunt my deepest nightmares forever, since my forehand topspin driven game is all about 0% chance of hitting it into the net. We get into a semi-intense rally. I'm not giving any inches. He approaches the net. Bold move. I lob a forehand well over him, but it lands just a few inches out. Ah, that was close, but I can accept it. I had imagined for this moment feeling like something deep inside me dying, my high school tennis career ending, but after losing that last point, it felt like the complete opposite. Not that I wanted it to feel like a relief and the start of chapters to come, but it just did. A burden was lifted, no longer having to rely on my tennis skills to build myself. I was well aware of my confidence and abilities in several ways. and just the determination to keep fighting. Ever since freshman year, I felt my natural talent and determination alone would be enough. I had to get into shape, mix up my tactics, start anew and approaching the net a lot. And even senior year, having to get in shape even more to play my best tennis and all the strategies I already talked about. Would I have loved to play like Federer? Sure, but it didn't work for me. Sometimes it does, but more often than not, if I try to play more like Andy Murray or Bjorn Borg, more grinding and top spin, slicing, that's what works for me. But even now, always mixing it up, see what works, just having guts. Of course, Coach had high hopes for my chances making it deep in the tournament as well, and possibly winning it, given my recent very solid form. But at least it actually turned out I was the only guy on the boys team, even though I had been 18 since August, to win a single game off of Jesuit that day. Everyone on my team that day from the boys were also stomped by Jesuit or Steinbrenner player. My opponent may have been a sophomore or junior, but he played like a man and seemed to feel very thankful at the end. It was a fight of a tennis match to the end, despite whatever the scoreboard read, 0616. Turned out I wasn't entirely ready to move on from organized tennis. Tried out college intramural and USTA tennis a bit, but I had a feeling I was getting there and could enjoy all I had learned and accomplished through high school tennis, competing against and alongside very good tennis players, rising above my misunderstood and underachieving states to become the most rock-solid tennis player I could be, and one far from the beast I originally imagined.